All right. What about the 9-10 matchup? The Bulls visiting the Raptors.
I think this is
Who
honestly a toss-up. I
uh
I don't know. I think this is a pretty close matchup, and honestly, anything can happen. But if I'm going to pick a team, that's tough. Uh,
this team is very evenly matched. So I
yeah,
do agree with you.
I'm kind of going back and forth. Because I think the Raptors actually play well together, but the Bulls have a better collection of players, in my opinion.
Really, I have the complete opposite view that you do. I feel like the Bulls play relatively well together, especially on more so on defense than offense.
Well,
But I feel
defense,
like
especially
Toronto has I feel
primarily.
like I feel like
Primarily.
I feel like Toronto has a much better roster, but like all season their offense has been terrible.
So,
And
well,
ironically, the Bulls do not have good defensive players, but their defense has been, I think, believe top seven, top eight for the last like a half month. Sorry, half of the season. Their offense has just been bottom five. Ironically enough, but yeah, it's funny. I have the complete opposite view of the Raptors and Bulls in terms of how their teams are structured and how they're built.
I'm gonna have to. I don't. I'm actually gonna go with. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's a tough. It's still tough. I don't know because I think the Raptors also have that like they have better coaching in my opinion.
They do have better coaching.
So it's tough, and honestly, I'm gonna have to go with the Bulls. I'm gonna go with the Bulls on this one just because
I agree with you. I
they have
think
DeRozan. They have the two better. They have the two. I don't know if they're better than Siakam. I mean, they're kind of a toss up to Siakam, but at the end of the day, in this particular matchup, because it's not like the OKC and Pelicans matchup where Shea and then there's like a lot of other players. Like you have DeRozan and Levine, right? Who's going to be big contribute, big scorers for them versus the Pelicans. I'm sorry, not the Pelicans, the Raptors, who is kind of more of like a balanced attack because I don't necessarily see Siakam as like a true like number one guy.
yeah, I think I agree with you that I'm with the Bulls on this one. Even though the Raptors have more talent, like top to bottom, they have more depth, they have more talent, everything. They have a bit more shooting as well. I mean, not by much, a bit more shooting as well. But for me, like two things. One is Toronto has been the most discombobulated team, or one of the most discombobulated team, especially in the Eastern Conference all season. They have so much offensive talent, and honestly, they have a lot of defensive talent too. But they have not looked smooth like all season. There's too much like iso ball. There's too much
Really consistent.
one on one. There's not a lot of consistency to your point. The Bulls like I don't know how, but they've been a top seven, top eight defense for the majority of the season. Just that their offense is terrible, but they played relatively well together all season. Just that with all the injuries that they've had, whether it was Lonzo and then Levine in the early part of the season, they just don't have enough offense. But defensively, they've been relatively good, and I feel like they just play better together. And for the Raptors, like I mean, I'm just going off of the reporting that a lot of folks have done over the season. Like, no one seems happy. Like, Nick Nurse is talking about, stepping down at the end of the season. OG has been in trade rumors all season. Fred VanVleet he's going to become a free agent this offseason. Gary Trent Jr. is also going to be a free agent this offseason, and he's looking to move from all the reports that we've seen. Um, I just feel like the Raptors are not as connected, and it almost feels like the season just needs to end so everyone can just reset and just move on. So for
Right.
me, I think I'm with you that I would pick the Bulls in this series as well.
Yeah, but I would have agreed with you if they made moves during the trade deadline. Because I think
Mhm.
Raptors were a team that we're talking about during the trade deadline who were going to make big moves. In fact, they didn't. trade any of the guys that we thought that were going to get traded. In fact, they traded for a player that they
Yep.
originally traded away to get Kawhi in Jakob Portal. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
don't know, maybe something is brewing up behind the scenes. Not entirely sure, but I think this trade deadline was kind of like their best opportunity to maximize the talent they had. So the fact that they decided to stick with it kind of shows maybe they're trying to run it back or maybe move a few people, but not the entire core. I don't
yeah.
know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. So I know, I mean, we don't have to go in depth about this now, but I'll just give you my kind of thought process with the Raptors and why they didn't make a move. So my thought process is they couldn't get a good deal for Trent or VanVleet just because they're going to be, free agents this upcoming summer. And I feel like they did not trade OG for two reasons. One, they saw how many teams wanted OG and how many offers that they got for OG. Like multiple teams were offering 3 first-round picks and then some, right? So I feel like their thought process is, okay, not all these teams are going to win the championship this spring/summer. These offers will still be on the table because OG has 2 years left in his contract. So we can reevaluate our team in the summer. And those offers will still be there. And if anything, teams will be more desperate to trade for him because they lost, right? So that's just my thought process of how they handled
What
this.
about the other guys? Like as you mean, like Trent's an expiring deal and Fred.
I don't think that they would have gotten much for Trent just because, like, Trent is not worth a first round pick, right? And we saw during the trade deadline that everyone was just trading 4 or 5 second round picks, and Trent would have been the same, in my opinion. And to the Raptors, I think their thought process was, well, you know, having 4 or 5 extra first round picks might not be worth it. We might as well just run it back, right? With Fred, it's a little different. I think with Fred, they probably could have gotten a first round pick. At the same time, I think that they know that they can resign him as well. But I mean, Freddie hasn't even played that well this year compared relative
Right. Yeah,
to
he
his previous
regressed
years.
for whatever reason.
And I feel like the Raptors know more about their players than other teams do.
Right. Which
But
makes sense.
not saying that I would have done what they've done. I can just understand where they're coming from and why they didn't make moves. I probably would have made a move or two to sell, not to buy. But being like devil's advocate, I can understand that what they were doing or not doing this past trade deadline, right? So
I guess we'll see what happens. They just have, I guess they have a lot of options. So
yeah.